Start with captivating visuals of the falls, powerful roaring sounds. Imagine a curtain of water, over a mile wide, plunging more than 350 feet into a chasm, sending a cloud of mist so high it can be seen from 30 miles away. A sound so deafening, it feels like the earth itself is speaking. This is Victoria Falls. But what's in a name? Long before British explorer David Livingstone arrived and named it after his queen, the local Tonga people knew this place by a name that truly captures its essence: Mosi Oa Tunya, the smoke that thunders. To them, this wasn't just a stunning natural wonder. It was a sacred site, a gateway to the spiritual world where the voices of ancestors echoed in the roar of the water. But in 1855, everything changed. When Livingstone discovered the falls, he didn't just stumble upon a beautiful landscape. He initiated a narrative shift, one that would attempt to erase centuries of indigenous connection. The sacred smoke that thunders was rebranded, packaged, and sold to the world as Victoria Falls, a jewel in the British colonial crown. This is the story of how a majestic piece of Africa was claimed, renamed, and turned into a symbol of empire. For generations, the Tonga and Lozi peoples who lived along the Zambezi River didn't just see the falls, they communed with them. They held rituals on its misty edges, believing their ancestors resided within the powerful cascades. The constant thunder was a form of divine communication, and the rainbows that danced in the spray were seen as bridges to the spirit realm. This was a worldview where nature wasn't something to be conquered, but a living, breathing entity, deeply intertwined with human existence and spirituality. The land was not a resource, it was a relative. Then in 1855, the colonial gaze arrived in the form of David Livingstone. As a Scottish missionary and explorer, he was undeniably awestruck. He famously wrote, "Scenes so lovely must have been gazed upon by angels in their flight." It's a beautiful sentiment, but it hides a more profound and more problematic reality. His act of renaming the falls after Queen Victoria wasn't a simple tribute. It was a symbolic act of possession. It was a declaration that this magnificent African landmark now belonged, in name and spirit, to the British Empire. This wasn't an innocent act of naming. It was a powerful tool of colonialism, part of a wider strategy to map, rename, and ultimately control the African continent. With the name changed, the marketing machine kicked into high gear. As British influence solidified in the region, Victoria Falls became a powerful symbol of colonial achievement and pride. Travel promoters in the late 19th and early 20th centuries began advertising it as one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. Suddenly, postcards, brochures, and glossy magazines were filled with images of this breathtaking discovery. The narrative was clear. This wild, untamed African wilderness was now accessible and safe, all thanks to the civilizing touch of colonial infrastructure. Railways were built to bring tourists directly to the falls. Luxurious hotels, like the iconic Victoria Falls Hotel, sprang up to cater to European visitors. They were invited to witness what was marketed as Africa's crown jewel. But in this grand colonial showcase, the original inhabitants were conspicuously absent. The very people who had revered the falls for centuries were pushed to the margins. They were displaced from their ancestral lands or put to work as laborers, building the very tourist attractions that now excluded them. The falls had become a paradox, a celebration of nature's power and a stark monument to colonial dominance. This commercial focus brought about profound cultural and environmental changes. Indigenous communities lost control over their sacred lands. The colonial administration established the area as a protected reserve. But this wasn't to preserve African heritage. It was to protect European tourism interests and ensure the spectacle remained pristine for foreign eyes. By the dawn of the 20th century, the transformation was complete. Victoria Falls was firmly cemented in the global imagination as a British possession. Local stories and spiritual beliefs were brushed aside as mere superstition. The legend of Nyame, the serpent river god believed to inhabit the Zambezi's depths, was dismissed in favor of European geological explanations. This was a classic colonial playbook. Replace indigenous spirituality with Western science and spectacle, and overwrite local histories with imperial myths. The soul of Mosi Oa was being systematically erased, but history's story is never finished. After Zambia and Zimbabwe fought for and won their independence, a new chapter began, one of reclamation. Efforts were made to restore the African identity of the falls. On the Zambian side, the national park was officially named Mosi Oa, a powerful act of restoring its original meaningful name. Today, both nations share the responsibility of preserving this incredible site, which was rightfully recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1989. Tourism is still the lifeblood of the region, but there's a growing movement to reconnect the falls with its true African heritage. Tour guides are now sharing the indigenous legends alongside the geological facts. Community-based tourism initiatives are empowering local people to tell their own stories, and the silenced legends of Nyame and the ancestral spirits are being revived for a new generation. The narrative is slowly but surely being reclaimed. So, when we look at Victoria Falls today, we see a place of stunning duality. It is, without a doubt, one of the most magnificent sights on our planet. A place where you can feel the raw power of nature in your very bones. But its beauty is layered with a complex and often painful history. It's a postcard image that was once used as a tool of colonial propaganda, a symbol of discovery that ignored the people who already called it home. The falls tell two stories at once, one of deep spiritual connection to the land, and another of colonial appropriation and the struggle for identity. To truly understand this place, we have to look beyond the colonial lens. We must listen for more than just the thunder of the water. We need to hear the whispered stories of the Tonga and Lozi ancestors who knew it as Mosi Oa. We have to remember that Africa's wonders were never discovered by Europeans. They were already known, cherished, and deeply woven into the fabric of African life. The challenge now is not just to preserve the falls as a tourist destination, but to fully restore its voice, its history, and its rightful place in the African story. Because this majestic, eternal force of nature does not belong to an empire. It belongs to the land. It belongs to the people. It belongs to Africa. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you found this story meaningful, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the hidden histories of our world. See you next time.